All right. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and formally kick us off here. And I just want to again thank you so much for joining us tonight for our Recovery in Action series. This is a special night. Normally, if you've joined us in the past, we've had different subject matter experts on a variety of topics, and we'll continue to do that. But tonight, our subject matter expert is actually an expert in what it is to go through this and to be able to share his experience and his story with you, and also offer an opportunity for you to ask him questions afterwards. And so I happen to know Josh and have known him for a while. Actually, I would say that I met him before he ever knew who I was or even what I did or anything else. And I met him through his family by them introducing him to me through our PAL meeting, and got to know who he was and what was happening with him for a long time before we knew what was going to happen. And I have to say that I don't know that I anticipated that one day he and I'd be sitting here doing webinars together. But here we are, and I'm very proud of not only what he's accomplished in his recovery, but also just in his life in general. He's a great guy, and he's really got a great story and a lot to share with us. And so, for those who don't know me, my name is Kim Humphrey, and I'm the CEO of PAL. And this series has been designed just to bring these different topics to you and give you an opportunity not only to learn, but again, if you have specific questions, what I'd appreciate you do is put them in the Q&A, not in the chat. So we'll go through a little bit of Josh's story. I'll ask him some questions that I have prepared for him. And then I'll kind of glance through the questions, look for common ones, and then we'll see if we can't ask Josh your questions and see what he has to say about those. And one thing I want to share with you is that none of this is scripted. Josh and I talked briefly, and I really encouraged him just to be very honest about his journey and just honest in his answers. I mean, this is his opportunity really to give back to you to hopefully help you wherever you're at with your journey and with your loved one. And so again, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A. I'll try and monitor those, and when we get near the end, we'll go through that and we'll be able to hopefully answer as many as we can. We like to keep these to an hour, so when we get close, I'll let you know, and we'll wrap things up, and we'll go from there. So I think with that, I just want to again say thank you, Josh, for being here. And I don't want to share too much about him because I kind of want him to share about himself. And what I've asked him to do is kind of kick this off, and just kind of tell us a little bit about growing up, and I guess really kind of when substances kind of became a part of your life and started becoming an issue for you, and kind of where that led from there. So again, first and foremost, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kim. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much. Yeah, guys. So let's just start right from the beginning. My childhood, grew up, have an awesome mom and dad who are still in my life to get today, still married. I had a great childhood. I know some people's stories in addiction grew up pretty rough, and kind of that fed their addiction. That was not my story, however. Um, I grew up in suburbs out here in Phoenix, Arizona. I was big into sports. I ended up playing. I had a God given talent for sports, athletics. I grew up playing in high school. I was football, basketball, track, and ended up getting a football scholarship, a full ride to the University of Nevada out in Reno. Um, but in high school, no drugs really. I did start smoking weed my senior year. You know, other than that, though, I was the jock, just playing sports. So I go out to high school and or I go to college out in Reno, Nevada, and kind of get my freedom. if there is one knock maybe on my parents, I wouldn't say it was a knock, but if you're gonna get nitpicky, it was I was kind of sheltered, very maybe a little too sheltered. I couldn't watch rated R movies. Power Rangers were kind of off limits for me growing up. A little violent, a little too violent. Mortal Kombat, I remember one time I played that at my friend's house and I came home feeling so guilty. I told him, Mom, I played Mortal Kombat, and I kind of like grounded myself. But but I don't know, like, so when I got to college, I was like, man, I want to try everything, like I just kind of wanted to be, I was kind of free, and I just had this desire, I guess, to say that I want to try everything once. As far as drugs or partying or whatever, just want to try it once, why not? So I'm playing college football, and I'm just kind of like going through the motions, going to school, partying on the weekends. I try, and I end up trying those different substances, right? I tried all the cocaine and the shrooms and the ecstasy and all that, and kind of just slacking off of football, not giving it my all, and coaches noticed, and they switched my position. They recruited me as a wide receiver. They moved me to a tight end, and I hated it. I didn't enjoy it, and I kind of built a resentment towards them. And I don't know, I just had this big, deep rooted resentment. And so, long story short, senior year of college, I'm hanging out with a buddy, and I walk in my room, and he's smoking something on foil. And I'm like, I've never seen that in my life. Like, what is going on here, And he was smoking a pill, Oxy 80s back in the day. And I was like, oh, well, shoot, I guess I'll try that, And I give that a try. And there was something about the pills that kind of, it wasn't like a one and done for me. I kind of just really gravitated towards it and really like, wow, I want to try this again. So I kind of just, it was something about using the opiates that really hung on to me. But he ended up moving away. The guy that I used with, he moved back to Phoenix, and I ended up graduating college. I still was there for another semester. I ended up graduating. I didn't really have anything set up after graduating. I kind of just went back to my parents' house. I went back to my parents. I graduated with a business management degree. And then right after, I went to my parents and pretty much just started hanging out with that guy again out there. And I was just gravitating to just wanting to do the drug. And then it wasn't pills anymore. Oxy 80s were kind of hard to get. So what he did have was this black substance, black tar heroin. And I'm like, whoa, so here I am doing that. I'm like, geez, man, college graduate, football star, and I'm over here smoking heroin, and I was doing that for months, having a job on this, like I was working at PF Chang's as a busboy, just kind of getting by at my parents' house. Got fired there from being late from, drugs, and then going to another job, my uncle at a tire shop. But I mean, really, it just kept progressing from there. Like one day, the same guy I'm talking about, I went to hang out with him, and he's like, "Well, today we're not smoking it. You're not going to be able to do any of this unless you shoot it up." So I'm like, "Geez, I don't feel good because you're sick. If you don't do the drug, you're sick. You're miserable. It's like you just want to feel normal again." So I was like, okay, sure. I put my arm out, and he shot me up with the heroin. And from there, there's no going back from that. Once you shoot it, you're not going to go back to just smoking it, because it's just a whole different game and a whole different level. And with that brings more desperation, more just being a scumbag. And man, it just got rough. My brother ended up dying too, and he got hit by a car. And he ended up dying, and I was just like, man, well, I lived longer than my brother, and I just really didn't even care about life. Dang, so I tried moving. I was like, I had a buddy who's moving out to Oklahoma, and I was like, he's like, hey, you can move out to Oklahoma with me. They don't have heroin out there. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna move out there. I'm gonna get away from all this crap. I'm gonna start my life. I'm gonna be good. So I move out there to Oklahoma with him, and they don't have heroin. That's true, but they do have methamphetamine. So here I am, and I'm using meth. I'm shooting up meth because I was addicted to the needle at that point. It didn't matter what it was. I was just trying to shoot up, and had a crazy couple year or two out there. Was with a crazy girlfriend, ex girlfriend, and ended up getting arrested, doing jail time, doing probably 3 or 4 months out there, probation. While I'm in jail, I did have a truck at the time. My truck ended up getting stolen, so I'm out there with nothing, walking around the state with no one. I don't know anyone. Um, I call my family, give me a Greyhound home, and beg them, I got a Greyhound back to Phoenix and come back here and just homeless. I mean, well, before I went to Oklahoma, my parents kicked me out because let's back up a little bit. Before I go to Oklahoma, that the reason why I went to Oklahoma is because I got kicked out of my house. After I was shooting up for a while and doing that, my parents kind of got the hang. They noticed that something's really wrong with me. I think they started going to some PAL meetings, and one day they came home like, hey, you need to go to you either need to go get help at rehab or you got to get out of the house. And I'm like, wow, well, I wasn't ready to go to rehab. I wasn't done yet, so just packed up a backpack. You know what I mean? And I left the house, and I was like, that was rough. Like here I am, a college D1 football player, scholarship on top of the world. Like I was very prideful, cocky, and all that, and it's just crazy. I got to a point where I'm like, I'm getting kicked out of my own house. I'm homeless with a backpack. It was. You would think that would be maybe a wake up call for me, but no. I mean, it wasn't. I was still just trying to find a way to get high every day and just keep feeding this addiction that has built up. And so when I did get back from Oklahoma on the Greyhound, I was just homeless on the streets, like total homeless on the streets for a few years. I mean, I was holding a sign on the side of the road, like hungry, anything helps, God bless. It's crazy, man. I just can't believe it. Almost feels like when I talk about this, it feels like a whole nother life ago. Like it didn't even happen, but it's good to remember this. Like I was sleeping in the canals over on 19th Avenue in Union Hills, Yorkshire, right there behind the Costco for all you Phoenix people out here. Yeah, just I mean, ODing. I had a couple ODs where firefighters would wake me up. They'd give me some Narcan, wake me up, and you'd think, hey, maybe now that might be enough for me to stop. No, it's sad. It's sickening, dude. Like I'd wake up and I'd be like, I would be like, dang, so how am I gonna get more? Like it's just it's an absolute disease, and it's horrible. Like it had such a grip on me. I have a huge scar right here on my hand. You probably can't see it, but I missed a shot in my hand one time, and I got staph infection. They almost had to cut off my hand. Oh yeah, but maybe that guy probably want to stop doing that stuff at that point. Nope. Just use my other hand to do it. It's sad, and so I kept going a couple years on the streets until eventually, I mean, what I got to steal, right? I got to steal my food. I'm stealing every meal at Circle K or the store, Walmart, whatever, because I couldn't spend $1 on food, right? Every dollar I ever made went to drugs. Whenever I was holding the sign on the side of the road, every single dollar I ever made went to drugs. So, I mean, eventually I got arrested. That's what I was going to say, right? Finally, thank you, Lord. Finally got arrested. It took a bunch of times, right? The first time they'll just let you out, get OR'd, and then you get a probation, and then you don't go to probation, you get arrested again, and whatnot. And finally, they're like, after doing probably a year of my life incarcerated, just in little stints. But finally, they're like, hey, Josh, how about this time we'll let you out of jail early if you go to rehab? And I'm like, yeah, I get out of jail a little early. Of course, sign me up. So then I go over to Crossroads and I get my first taste of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and I do the steps. I was there for 2 months. I wish I could say that I got it right the first time. I did not, but I ended up relapsing and leaving, going back on the streets for a little while, and then let's see, it was in July 2018. It was probably 120 degrees out. I got my bike and a backpack. I'm at a park, and I remember I just woke up from doing a shot, and I don't remember going to sleep. So maybe it was a little OD or something. I don't know. I woke up and I'm like, I just started crying. I hit my knees and I'm like, God, please help me. I don't want to live this way anymore, And I like truly like cried from the depths of my heart, and I meant it. Like God help me. Like I always grew up in church, and I always knew I had God in the back, but like I was obviously living a very worldly life in college, and not having a relationship with God or anything, and even after. But it's crazy how deep in my heart I knew to beg for help, to God, and I wish I could say like right then and there, boom, I was saved and I was good, and I went back to rehab. Like it wasn't immediate, but like within the next week or two, I believe, I went back to Crossroads. I remember like when I was sober the first time for the first like month or two, I was pretty happy. Remember, I was smiling, I was laughing, I had some good times, and I'm like, let me just go back and try this again. And I went back that second time and just kept working the program, did my steps, just listening to my sponsor, praying every morning. I hit my knees every morning, every night, still to this day, and just say how grateful I am to be alive, first and foremost, right? Like, I know I should be dead, so I'm just grateful to be living. Every day is a blessing to me. But I hit my knees and I pray, but it's like I started sponsoring guys, helping others, because I know that's what was told to me to do, is to keep giving back. And here I, 7 years sober, and I try to do that. But is
So
there anything else you want me to touch up on, Kim, with my story?
yeah, so about how long was that from the time you kind of started until the time you ended up in that rehab that ended up being the last rehab you were in?
So when I remember the day I let my buddy shoot me up in my arm was my 22nd birthday.
Okay.
And I think from there, that was like super took off. And then when I went to rehab, I was 30 years old.
So about 8 years of that, not including the time before leading up to the shooting up part. Yeah.
Smoking for a little bit. I mean, here and
Yeah.
there.
And so and again, as you talked about, through all this, one of the things you mentioned was that, maybe your parents ended up at PAL or something. Now you know a little bit more about it because you've had a chance to talk to them. So, what were some things that happened that you can remember that your parents did that may have had an effect on you during this time?
Um,
Setting
well,
some
like I said,
boundaries, anything like that.
like what? Sorry.
Like set boundaries, anything like that.
Oh, it was just enablement. After I think they started going to pals, that's when they came back and they set those boundaries. Like, hey, if you're not going to go get help, we got to kick you out. They had to show tough love. They had to stop enabling me. Because at the time I hated it. I'm like, what's going on? Like, you know, I can't believe you would kick out your own kid. But like looking back, I'm like, I mean, it was absolutely crucial and necessary, because how would I ever change or grow or hit my rock bottom if I was being enabled? And then also they said they had to take care of themselves, right? Their relationship comes first. Um, so they couldn't let me come between them, in a sense.
And that happens a lot, doesn't it? I mean, if you have two, you can try and work one over the other, or or they have a hard time knowing what to do, so they're having a hard time trying to deal with it. Is that
Mm-hmm.
kind of what you think is what was going on?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure one felt away, and they would even argue within each other, of how to deal with stuff. But they had to just get back to the basics, like, hey, me and you are one. Me and you That's what matters. He needs to figure out on his own. We cannot help him. He needs to help himself.
Yeah, and in your case, also you had a grandmother that was very concerned about you, and she also attended PAL for a while.
Yeah, my grandma, she was part of that. She told me she was praying for me every day, and I still see her to this day. And yeah, it's she was a big part of that as well. It probably devastated. It's probably, I mean, I know it was devastating to her. I can't imagine, what my grandma coming to all my sports games and everything, and then all of a sudden her boys homeless, like on the streets. Yeah, it's sad.
And when you ended up back in Phoenix, in this area again, my recollection, and you're welcome to help me correct my memory here, but I recall that either your grandmother and or your parents or others may have even been out looking for you and trying to find you when you were out homeless and trying to help you while you were out there, but of course not really able to get you to go anywhere. Do you, and
Yes. When I would get super desperate and I was just starving or something, I would call my mom and I'd be like, "Hey, mom, can you help me out?" And she would come and she would buy me like a Chick-fil-A or something one time. Or one time I was freezing in the winter. I'm like, can you get me a tent? So she came and bless her heart, and we met up. Someone offered up, and she bought me a tent, and it was like, and then she'd see me picking up cigarettes on the ground, like the little half smoking cigarettes, and she would just think that was disgusting. She's like, "No, I'll buy you a pack of cigarettes." She would never give me cash or anything, but she would. That's about the extent that I got from them when I was homeless on the streets.
yeah, and I think a lot of times people think about this idea of um, cutting you off, but do you feel that at any point your parents didn't love you?
No, not at all. And I knew they were there with open arms as soon as I was willing to come back, but I just wasn't ready, like it was the only thing on my mind, which we've come to learn about addicts is the drug. The drug comes before food, water, shelter, anything, and it's true. As much as I still love them and didn't want to hurt them, it's just that's the reality of it for me.
Yeah, and I know you sort of touched on it, but you really got to a point where, you kind of, put your hands up and said, God help me because I can't do this. But I think it's always hard because people don't understand why then? Why not before? What, I mean, maybe you don't know, but what, what finally happened in your brain that said, okay, enough. I'm sick and tired of this. Any thoughts?
Honestly, I don't know. Except I just had this feeling that I was gonna die. Like it straight up came into my heart, my mind that I'm gonna die if I keep doing this. And then I didn't want to die. I'm not suicidal or anything. And I was just like, and I was miserable. Like nothing. Um, and I was hot. It's hotter. A lot of people out here in Phoenix they tend to go to rehab when it's 120 degrees out and you're homeless. It's like a lot of sobriety dates do happen to be in the summertime.
Well, and it sort of goes to the point of, unfortunately, that pain sometimes is a motivator. And in this case, whether it's the pain of the heat or the pain of, just the miserable and the sickness of it and all that stuff. But, you know, uh, joking aside, you're absolutely right. That is a time like here, and I'm sure in other places where they have different types of weather that are miserable, I bet you they see the same type of thing. So. And as you were reflecting back on all of this, any other thoughts about things that may have happened, you know, um, while you were out there that gave you the indication that your family was always going to be there for you, but they had set some boundaries that they were going to be holding to. Is there anything that, you think back and you go, I knew they were there for me because of something they may have said or done or whatever?
I mean, I remember still getting invited to a Thanksgiving one time, and I went to Thanksgiving with the whole extended family and everything, and they're literally praying for me before Thanksgiving meal. And I mean, it meant a lot, but at the same time, I ended up going into the bathroom and using drugs, and it's like, and getting kicked out, and it's like,
Mhm.
jeez. But I mean, I knew they were there. I just can't. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think it's important because that's a perfect example of we have people ask all the time, and it's like, well, can't I just invite them over for dinner? Can't I just do this? Can't I just do that? And when they're actively using the example you just gave is typical, is that yeah, you might show up because you're hungry, but at the same time, that wasn't what motivated you to get better.
Mm-mm. No, not at all. But yeah, yep. It's it's just it's sad. It's in that if they could do something that would have made me come sooner, they would have done it. But it was all just whenever I was ready because I had to hit my rock bottom. Essentially, is what they talk about, and everyone's rock bottom's different.
Well, and I like to ask um, people that all the time and it's a very simple question, and it's, do you think there's anything your parents could have said or done that would have changed the outcome, or was it just going to, yeah, well, you're shaking your head, but
Absolutely
finish
not.
my sentence. Yeah.
Absolutely not. There's nothing that they could have done or said. The addiction runs so it runs your life, and like I said, it comes number one, and it doesn't matter what anyone does or says. I want that drug more than any relationship, and
Right.
the drug is in control and has the complete power in the situation, an active addiction.
Sure, and that goes back to why your parents were learning things about taking care of themselves, because they were realizing at this point they couldn't do anything, that was going to
Mm-hmm.
change this other than they could be, cheerleaders, they could, pray for you, they could do things that like that. But
Stop
as far
enabling
as,
me.
hmm yeah. And so let's switch gears, because I will say this is that, I didn't know all the details, but I knew a lot of details about you because, a lot of times they were coming and they were sharing this, and, we were praying for you, and we don't even know who you are. And we're just hoping, one day we'd hear something. And it was a long time because they came to those meetings for years. And so, we sat there and, we didn't know, what was going to happen. But then, sure enough, one day in they walk and they say, "Hey, you're not going to believe it. You know, he's in recovery, and I think this time he's really sticking it out." And then we started hearing more positive things, and then we started hearing more positive things. And so I just wanted you to maybe just do a recap now of where you're at now. What's life look like? Because it's been about 7 years, right?
8 in July. It'll be 8.
8 in July. Okay, so what's life look like now? What are you doing, and what's happened? What's changed?
Oh man, life is amazing. I'm like I said, I'm just grateful to be alive. But the blessings that have come, man, like I'm married now. I got married 2 years ago. Beautiful wife, who's amazing, and I just bought a home last year. I'm a homeowner now. um, I golf all the time. I got my friends. I go to Bible study on Mondays with some very solid guys that I look up to, business owners. I work at a restaurant. I'm a server. I have my bachelor's in business management. I know, but you know what? I enjoy serving. I really do. I love to be walking around, moving, helping others, making people smile. And the money is really not bad if I'm able to buy a house, you know. But yeah, I just got a hole in one last month. So,
Well,
you
there's
know,
that.
what could be better? I mean, um, so no, all joking aside, like it's been awesome. We got 3 cats. I'm a cat dad now. The strays outside just had kittens, and my wife just brought in a kitten. So yeah, I was a little like, what are we doing here? We already got 2 full cats, but this little cat is growing on me. It's pretty sweet. Uh, But yeah, so I mean, between work, church, with my wife, golf, I hit the gym. I play some basketball still. We just went on a cruise last month. We were over in the Eastern Caribbeans on a Royal Caribbean cruise, St. Martin, St. Thomas. Just living life, you know. And she's already got another one booked for September. She's
Sure.
trying to book one for July. I'm like, hold on. Let's just, let's not try to wear these things out. Um, I got a guys golf trip planned for May. We're going out to out by Vegas out there, and just and I still do sponsor guys, so I still go back to the rehab I went to, and I get a guy in the book, and I try to bring him along, like, hey man, like, there is hope in this. If you want to get sober and have an awesome life, like I was just right where you were 7, 8 years ago, like it's possible, and that gives me a lot of fulfillment in life, and purpose definitely is trying to help other guys with the AA program and sponsoring them. So that's been huge. And then, yeah,
Yeah. Well, and in the meantime, we've gotten to know your wife as well, and she's got a side business, and my son and his family have her over quite a bit. Every time they go somewhere, she does a great job of everything from organizational stuff to just taking care of their animals while they're gone, and we refer her to everybody. So
thank
she's
you.
got a great reputation. She started that business, and maybe it'll branch into something even bigger. I don't know, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. And that, what, that's so cool. Like to be where I'm at today, like you guys you know, trust us and stuff, and just have my family back in my life. Like I was just I'm at my parents right now. We just had a nice dinner before this, um, and it's just I got them back in my life. That they asked for me to lead prayer on Thanksgiving and stuff. It's like, wow, here I was, the one getting high in the bathroom on Thanksgiving, but now they're looking to me to lead prayer. It is awesome. Like God is good. All glory to God. Like this is not something I could have done on my own. It has to be a power greater than myself, and definitely was. And thank you, Jesus.
well, I appreciate that, and I'll tell you, I've my wife and I have made many friends through PAL, and there's many relationships that we built with these individuals, and I will tell you that what you went through is what made you who you are, right? I mean, I usually like to ask people, do you have regrets? And most people think, what? So, and your answer is,
No, not at all. Like I am like what I went through just makes me more of a grateful person today. I have more joy than I would have. Like before I was just taking things for granted, just going through the motions, but now I'm like just super truly grateful, and it's made me stronger, and it's given me a purpose to go and help others, and it's all this stuff. I see the bigger picture, and I wouldn't. I'm lucky I lived through it. I wouldn't test my luck again on it, but I won't take anything back.
yeah. Well, we have quite a few questions, and I see some of them are. I think these might be really good. So let me just walk through these with you, and let's just see if we can't knock out a few of these questions. And the first one is, Josh, how did you get, well, basically brave enough to tell your story?
Um, Honestly, it's just it hit through prayer, right? Reading the Bible every day, through prayer every morning and every night, just kind of coming to the realization that God kept me alive for a reason, like straight up, and I need to fulfill fulfill that. And if anyone asks me to share my story, I'm here. I'm willing. And I know that's my purpose in life, like straight up. Like, what would that benefit for me to get sober and then just go off and live my own little life, on my own? It's like what? That's pretty selfish. Like, come on, you're not gonna go and help others, and maybe and help other people do the same thing. Like, so it's like, no, that was instilled in me. Like, I gotta go give it. I can't keep it to myself. I gotta give it back.
Yeah. Well, and I will just say, when I reached out to you about doing this, you were working. and this night, and you had to actually go to your job and ask them for the day off, and so I mean, I'll attest to the fact that you found this as to be a priority. So I
Oh,
really
and that was
appreciate
tugging at my heart because you know what I did tell Kim, like, hey, maybe next time I got work Thursdays, and I'm like, just we'll work it out in the future. And he's like, well, I don't know if there's really, I mean, it might be way down the road, and I'm sitting there, and it was tugging at my heart. The Holy Spirit's like, what are you doing, man? Like, you can request off to watch March Madness. You're not going to
it.
request off to do something that is very important. So I was like, I knew immediately. I'm like, yep, I got to do it.
Well, we appreciate it, and the next question is, you well, you sort of answered it in a different way, but you talked about giving back and helping people, but um, Karen's asking, do you think that if teens heard your story, they would think before they try drugs? It's kind of like that
Mm.
prevention thing. And I don't know how you can answer that one. Would it have helped
I
you?
mean, I remember growing up with the whole dare, don't do drugs, and that did impact me. I didn't want to do any of that stuff, but um, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if that would impact people because you see those they have movies. I don't know. I would hope so. I mean, I would if it is true. Yes, if it maybe actually it probably would. I mean, at least a person or two, right?
Yeah.
Out of a whole bunch of people, maybe it would prevent one or two. But I don't know. It's just hard to answer.
Yeah, it is tough, and it's because you obviously you don't know, but what you do know is that when faced with the issue of, do I take this? My friend is standing there right there, he's giving it to me, or I'm just searching it out, or whatever the case may be, there is going to be that choice that happens right there. And you hope that maybe somewhere in their brain there's something that says, you know, and stops. But just like with my son, it was a friend offered him something, and it was one time, and that was that. And so,
Hmm.
like you, I think, most people think a lot about trauma and other things in their life, but a lot of times it's not really about that, right?
And I mean, I don't know
Can be.
if the champion, yeah, it can be, but what I was just thinking, like with my kids, like I'm going to be so upfront and talk about all this and tell them if I do have kids, we're still trying right now, but just to be so upfront, honest, and real. Like, hey, you can go do this stuff. It's going to lead to this, or it's lead to this. I didn't really get that with my parents. I'm not like if I had a nitpick or whatever, it was kind of like sheltered, and I didn't get told like about drugs and what they were, and like a little more detail, like just kind of stuff, situational things like that.
Yeah.
If
Yeah, and the next question is about, whether your parents cut you off completely during your homeless time, but you sort of already answered that. The answer is kind of, but not necessarily 100%. There were some times where they reached out to you and did a few things for you, but for the most part, I always like to rephrase things like that, and you tell me if you like my rephrasing of it. When people say, your parents cut you off, I like to say, no, you chose not to go down the road that they offered you, which was recovery. So you chose not to take the resources they offered you. So it's really not them doing it, other than them just holding a boundary and saying, hey, here's what we're offering. Do you like my way of looking at it?
exactly when they're supporting me and like their house and their food, and I'm not willing to make a change, something for the better, then yeah, it's me making the choice.
Yeah.
They're just setting boundaries, which is a huge thing for me to this day that we learn in recovery is to set healthy boundaries. You have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the next person is asking, essentially, how did you dig yourself out of the hole that you got yourself into as far as legally, financially, and then when you got sober, the question is, did you find a partner? But you said you're married now, and it was even there's even a part of this question is advice on dating. So it really is kind of how did you dig yourself out of this, and then
Mm.
hey, you got married, so obviously she sees something redeeming in about Josh.
Oh yeah, that was years down the road of sobriety. let's say they say in AA, and I agree with it. The first year needs to be like kind of no serious relationships, and I did take that, and then I was a scumbag, to be honest with you, for a while. I was just dating multiple women and boom, boom. I was afraid of commitment. I honestly thought I would never get married. I was like, I'm never gonna get married. I'm kind of just afraid of commitment. And then my wife, we met on Hinge. I mean, that's the place to meet, I guess. Nowadays, it has to be online. Like people don't just say hi at the grocery store. They'll think you're weird, right? Like that's just the new day and age. But we met on Hinge, and I kind of friend zoned her for a year. Just we were just friends, and I still was afraid to commit. I had my other things on the side, and eventually, praying, I was so lustful, and I just felt it, and God was tugging my heart, like, what are you doing? Like, this is the one, like, and kind of down that's kind of how it all happened.
Yeah. Well, I know her. She's amazing. So
Thanks.
it's awesome. So if you had to say what was the best thing that has come from your addiction, what would that be?
Um, my relationship with God and how much strong, and just my belief and how much stronger I am as a person because of it. Mm. And the joy and the gratitude and the joy is what I've already touched on. But the gratitude and joy that I live each and every day is it's worth more than anything, really. Like
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and I hear that a lot from people, and it goes back to that no regrets, right? And because if you have that now, it's because of that, and that's great.
yeah. And
So,
I had to flip my thinking completely. Going over my steps this time in the program. Instead of thinking, "Oh, poor me," my coaches switched my position to a tight end and I didn't like it. Poor me. I didn't go to the NFL because I always grew up thinking I was going to go pro. Poor me. I had to flip it to, dude, I'm grateful I made it to play college football. I got a scholarship. Like, what percentage of guys do that, So
mm,
it's just all about your perspective and flipping it to a grateful mentality. And that's huge for me. I
yeah,
had to learn that, though. I was very on the negative aspect and just flipped it to positive.
sure, sure. So the next question is do you have any long-term effects from the drug use?
Not that I know of. I mean, we're still trying for a baby, so it's been a couple years now. I mean, maybe, maybe not, but um, other than that, no. Like my body's been, I feel like amazing. Like it's so resilient. I've been doing some fasting here and there, and I feel healthier. I'm healthier and stronger and in better shape today than I believe I was playing college football.
Wow,
Um,
good.
I do believe that, and yeah.
So how about any advice for parents, particularly ones that think that the first rehab is going to be it and they're going to go in and be cured? I'm only smiling because I thought the same thing.
It is like honestly, it's a huge step and it's a good thing. Like that first time going to rehab, that the experience you learn, it's a life, it's knowledge that you soak in and it does stick. But it it took me twice. It took a lot of people I know twice or multiple times. It's very rare that that person could go one time to a 30-day program, get out, and they're cured. It's just, I haven't seen it. I sponsor a lot of guys at my rehab. And to be honest with you, the people that do 30 days and then think they're good, they're going to go back to their family, live their life. It's not the case. I tell people 30 days rehab, stay as long as you can rehab. I stayed 4 months myself. And then I went to a sober living after. This is kind of important. I
Mhm.
always recommend going to a sober living after rehab. A little bit more. You still have that accountability, right? You're still going to get drug tested. I ended up staying in that rehab for probably or sober living for 3 to 4 years. Well, granted, I was the manager. They promoted me, and I was getting free rent. But still, I mean, I still recommend going to a sober living for a good amount of time after, because once
Sure.
you get the 1 year of sobriety, your chances of staying sober, they talk about this, it dramatically changes. It's just that first whole year. So 30-day rehab, mom, I'm good. Honestly, I always recommend a little sober living after rehab. Keep working a program. You got to keep doing that stuff. You're not going to be cured ever. I still have to. I have 7 years. You think I want to keep going back to rehab and keep doing these meetings? Like I don't. I'd rather just be doing my own thing. But I know like I have to. It's life or death for me. Still, I have a buddy who just had 6 years sober. We were sober the whole time from rehab, and he relapsed one time, dead. You know, and I'm like, well, why did he relapse 6 years? And the only thing I can come is he didn't believe in God. He wasn't growing spiritually, and that's a huge thing. You have this void in you. He had a void in him that he was not filling, and he ended up even after 6 years going back. So it's a spiritual program. It really is, man.
Yeah. Wow. What a shame. And it leads into the question is what motivates you to stay sober? You've said a lot, but anything stand out?
The only thing that motivates me is just how good life is today. And I always tell my sponsees, like, give it a year. If you don't like where you're at, just go back. But you're gonna be amazed at how good you feel, how good you look, the family, your friends, and everything around me. Like, like I don't smoke weed, I don't do any of that, drink, nothing, because why even take the chance? Like, life's so good now. Like, there's no reason to why, you know what I mean? It,
Sure. No, that's great. And you know, kind of back on the other theme, which is the question is, do you still have any cravings? And then how do you cope with bad days that come along?
mm, Good question. I don't have cravings. I do have dreams still. Even 7 years after sobriety, I'll wake up sometimes after having a vivid dream of shooting up drugs or doing something. I'll wake up like, okay, it was just a dream, like it's scary. It's like, well, how am I still having dreams, But it's still to this day. I do have dreams. I don't have cravings. Um, because I'm staying spiritually fit, right? That's what they talk about in the program is if you have a strong spiritual relationship, you should be good from cravings, or you're working with other addicts, stuff like that. But no, what was a second part of the question?
Yeah, so how do you cope with bad days that come along?
Prayer, I talk it out with my wife. I'll talk it out with other people in the program. You can't hold these things in. I cry. Sometimes I'll throw on this worship song. It makes me cry. Like my buddy just died a couple months ago. I've seen so many deaths since I've been sober. Like it's crazy how many deaths I've of friends, and it's just like, prayer. And you got to cry out sometimes. You can't be afraid to cry. I mean, it's natural. It's good.
Hmm. And maybe that, you could comment about your time in rehab, what was that like, for you in rehab? And I guess, what'd you learn there?
I mean, it was awesome. It's like you go from nothing on the streets. You get 3 meals a day. You get a place to sleep. You do go to these classes. They teach you about boundaries. They teach you about how it's a disease, and they teach you about codependency, and they teach you about all these different things. It is very useful, and they even taught me about like stocks. Taught me about saving financially, and it was a good time. I met a couple good buddies who are still sober today, and I you go to meetings every day, and it just kept pounding in my head about kind of these fundamental things that I've been touching up on. It's just I learned from the program, and then the program, yes, it's a little more broad. They don't say God, they say higher power, but it kind of I believe it wants you to. The main goal of it is to help you find your relationship with God, and then really all the magical things can just keep growing.
Yeah, so did shame and guilt about how you may have hurt your family and those who love you, did that cause you to stay away from them at all? And I guess how did you overcome that?
Mm-mm. No, it did not. I was always eager to hang back out with them, eager to hang out with them, eager to show them, hey, I'm doing good. And that's another thing is you'll get us in early sobriety be telling you a lot of things like, hey, we're good, dude, good. But it's like just you need to be looking more at the actions and the words. So you got to give it some time, but yeah,
Yeah. So it really comes back to the fact that you wanted that relationship, and the reality was is you had to earn their trust back, and you had to get to the point where they were going to let you back in their life, right?
yes, that's where I was going with that. I drew a blank, but exactly yeah, I have some things I still laugh to myself, like in the shower, just randomly, like just thinking about the stupid, shameful things I did. But it's like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna be over here just like let it affect me negatively, or I just got to be like, whoa, I'm forgiven. God's forgiven me. Like, why? I'm not gonna let this keep bothering me going forward. Like, what is that gonna do? I gotta keep pushing forward and be a better man, and just God doesn't want me to have shame or regret. Like, no way.
Yeah, and at some point there, your family, and of course I know much of the story, but at some point your family trusted you again, right? I mean, and it wasn't overnight. You didn't just move right back in. You went into sober living. You did a lot of things to get that relationship back.
Oh yeah, exactly. It took time because the first time I went to rehab, they did. I mean, I don't know. They kind of, they're eager to give me their trust back. You know what I mean? And then after 2 months, I went. So the second time, they were a little bit more like, yeah, yeah. Well, we've seen this before. Let's see a little bit longer this time. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've got about
Mm.
four or 5 minutes left, and I want to try and hit a couple more questions, and then we'll just wrap up. But so this individual is sharing that her son is currently in sober living, and she wants to know how best she can support him without enabling, because he's very discouraged about his whole life kind of being a disaster. So she wants to be encouraging, but she doesn't want to enable.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I did not get any finances from my parents, definitely, but like, encourage, like, just let them know you're there. You love them. Um, help them with transportation or whatever here and there, little things like that. But um, honestly, just being positive. I mean, and just keep encouraging him to do the whole meetings and to start sponsoring guys. And if he's not growing and trying to start like sponsoring, because that was huge for me. Like I started sponsoring guys immediately, like right when I left rehab. So you get through the steps, usually the 12 steps, you can do it in a month or two, right? And that was a big thing that it pounded in my head, was to immediately start sponsoring guys, because I have more knowledge at that point than the guy who just got sober yesterday does, right? I can help. And it's scary at first. He's going to be like, I can't do that. But if he did start doing that and sponsoring and trying to help, he'll feel that purpose. He'll feel that joy, and that'll help him a lot, I believe. If he's, I mean, and I don't know,
Yeah. And on the same thing, the question is about advice you'd give to parents that have a child in addiction. And, you know, based on some of the things you said, clearly the idea is, enabling is not a good plan, but you still want to let them know you love them. So any thoughts on that?
yeah. Let them know you love them. I still have them over for the family functions and all that, and go out to eat together and do all that, like the relationship interaction. Like that's awesome. But as far as trying to get money or get a car or get this or get that, it's like, no, I rode my bike to work for months until I was able to save up to buy a car. Like, you got to, there's steps to this. And I wouldn't take that away, because something given to me it's not going to be, this doesn't feel as good. I want to, earn everything, and it's going to be tough, but it's going to be, it's going to be worth it.
And obviously, when you said, that you'd let them invite them over, you mean if they're not actively using and
Oh
they're
yeah, like you're saying, she's in sober living, so that's in that
oh yeah, you're
situation. If
talking
he's in
about yeah,
sober
in
living,
sober
that's what I
living.
was still thinking about that guy. Like
Yeah, yeah,
that guy should be able to, you know what I mean? Like boom, like
sure.
let's work with
Yeah.
him, let's have him, all that.
But the
But in
person
that
that's got the
addiction, no.
active in addiction, yeah,
Sorry, I thought we were still on that question. I was touching that
that's
one up.
okay. No, I got you. I got your bag. So so let's see if we can get maybe one more here.
Mm,
Looks like oh yeah, so this, this is very typical. I'll summarize the question, and it's that this individual has a son who's been active in this for like 15 years, in and out of everything, and calls, crying and basically gives her the idea that, she's abandoned him. And
mm,
my son even told me that one day, I feel like you're abandoning me. And it was hard for me to hear that. But
hmm.
your thoughts on that? Because
Yeah, I've done it
I,
too, And from my perspective is we'll say whatever we can, right? We'll say whatever we can to tug at your heart to get what we want, to keep our addiction going. If we've hit, if we have no money, nothing, we can't think of anything. We're gonna try, and maybe mom will give me a $20 today. I'm gonna. What can I say? You know what I mean? Like that's just my experience. Like it's them. They're playing a game, and they're trying to use whatever they can, and it's sad, but to try and benefit themselves to feed their addiction, to keep going longer. But it's hard.
yeah, and for me, I literally had to say to my son, hey, I'll always be for you. I'll never be against you. But my ability to give you money and things like that, I can't do that. I want to encourage you to get the help you need, and I don't think that's going to help you. And so I'm not abandoning you. I'm just changing, how I interact with you. And so it was hard, and that is a hard feeling because when you're separated, and as we wrap this up, just go back to saying that, this is tough. I mean, it's tough on, obviously, you went down an extraordinary road. That was hard. It's amazing that you're where you're at today, but it was hard for your family too. And so with that, any last thoughts, any comments you just want to share with everybody? You got a bunch of people out there that are dealing probably with their own family and their own sons and daughters and others that are out there, and some of them are probably active in all this. Any thoughts? Maybe some hope?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's tough, and I don't have a kid, so I don't know where the parents like. That's a whole different. I can only imagine how hard it is to try and set those boundaries, and it feels like you're abandoning or whatever, tough love. But it was absolutely critical for me in my sobriety. I never would have got sober just hanging out at my parents' guest room and little crappy job or whatever. I would just been fine. Um, it's going to be hard, but and it's nothing you can do. There is nothing you can do or say to change them in their mind. It's whenever they are truly ready, whenever they've hit it in their heart that they want to change. There's nothing can be done.
And then once they make that decision, there's nothing you can do to stop it because it's going to happen now, right? I mean, you were determined at that point.
Determined, and then you keep taking the next right step, you keep doing the next right thing, and you keep seeing these blessings. They just keep coming and coming and coming, and you're just like, wow, like I should have done this a long time ago. Like all this I built in this 7 years. I'm like, geez, what if I was just like a normal person from when I was 18? What kind of life I could have built? But I don't regret or anything. But yeah, it's just like it's
Well,
amazing.
I sure appreciate you being willing to share your story, and I think you've shared a lot that I think I'm sure, and we've seen numerous thank yous in here for you sharing your story and telling it. And I just want to wrap it up by saying that I sat in a PAL meeting listening to your family for a long time, and felt like I knew, who you were out there. And I can tell you from my experience with them is that their love never wavered. They wanted so badly for you to get better, and they were willing to do what it took to try and help. And we all were praying, and we were all hoping that it was going to end up this way. And sometimes it doesn't. And as you've experienced with your friends, sometimes not everybody gets better, but sometimes they do. And you're a perfect example of the fact that sometimes they do, and that is hope. And I want to remind everybody, if they're alive and they're breathing, there's hope. You just never know, what's going
Hmm.
to happen, and you never know what's going to turn that around. So again, thank you so much, Josh. We really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for being on with us tonight. On May the 14th, we're going to have our next recovery series topic is going to be with Dr. Holly Geyer from the Mayo Clinic. Many people know her from going to our meetings and maybe seeing some of the videos that she has done with PAL. But she's going to be live, and so we're going to be able to ask her questions and get the latest on science and things like that. But in the meantime, thank you again for joining us tonight. We're hoping to be able to have this recording posted so that if you weren't here or you want to share it with others, you'll be able to do so. So with that, again, Josh, thank you. God bless you,
Thank
and
you, Kim.
sure appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you, and good night, everybody.